Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you the battle group overview for the 3rd Fallschirmjäger Division, and this is a division that I'm not actually very confident with at all, which is why I've actually left it to the last division to show to you guys. So this is the 18th battle group overview. We're finally covering all of the decks, and I will probably go back to do some of the earlier ones again. If anything significant has changed, I'll probably do some revisit videos to have a look at old battle groups. But either way, let's talk about the 3rd Fallschirmjäger. And these guys are very reliant on elite infantry in Phase A, and basically just elite fire support in Phase A as well. They have some awesome tanks, the L6s, and their Phase A is pretty damn strong. But they can be countered by certain decks, and I will talk about that later on. Let's move into the Recon tab. So in the Recon tab, I think it's just ideal to take 2 squads of Speertroop, just because they have quite a decent amount of HE, and they're a 4-man squad, pretty damn strong. Much better than the Aufklärer, because their Aufklärer are 2-man squads, but the nice thing about an Aufklärer squad is they do have the Kubel MG. So in some cases I would see a reason to bring in 1 squad of Aufklärer instead of 1 squad of Speertroop, but Speertroop can quite safely assist you on the front lines because they are 1-star veterancy, which changes to 2-star veterancy with a command unit nearby, which is really quite strong. The BMW R75 is not something that I enjoy using at all. I find that the 600 meter range is not long enough for the machine gun to be effective, and often just gets killed by enemy fire support and so on because it has no armor. It's really easy to take care of. Also, it only has high optics. Maybe if it had very high optics, then it might be more useful. I suggested maybe giving this bike a little bit of an armor, like maybe 1 front armor, so it's a bit more resistant to light arms fire. But I don't know. I guess it's kind of stupid. But there are other ways that I think they could definitely make this this bike a lot more useful. Maybe just reducing the price of it so you can get more of them. Either way, they do have these Fallschirm Scharfschütze available. But currently, these guys aren't the most useful squad. They're kind of like a sniper squad, but basically they have like a Panzerbücher 39, which is like a AT rifle. It has 5 HE power anyway, and currently it only has 3 ammo, so this fires 3 shots and then it's done. They definitely need to change this, especially considering it has a 10 rate of fire. But they're kind of like a sniper squad, really. Just they're using an AT rifle to snipe people, which is rather horrific when you think about it. That large caliber rifle going to be ripping people to shreds. And as they are 2 squads, I would say that they basically take the role of a sniper squad, but they're 3-man, which is quite nice compared to the 2-man sniper squads that you get as the allies. So yeah, a reasonably nice squad. I would maybe recommend getting at least 1 or 2 cards of them even once they have their ammunition changed. If we move on to the Fallschirm Panzer Abwehr, these guys have the Panzerschreck, and they're a Panzerschreck recon squad with very good stealth. 4-man squad as well, with 12 HE power available at 100 meter range. So these guys are extremely strong in close range, especially when they are 2-star veterancy with a command unit nearby. And furthermore, they are fantastic for ambushing roads with this Panzerschreck, or just any location where armor travels frequently. Keep these guys in those locations, and the 250 meter range Panzerschreck will do you wonders, especially with with the command veterancy. The other thing that I have available is the SPW AB41. Now, this is quite an interesting recon vehicle. I wish you could get one of these in Phase A, but it'd probably be a bit OP. In Phase B, these guys are amazing. They have an autocannon, 112 meter range, or 112 round per minute autocannon, with 6 accuracy and 10 HE power. With high optics, this thing will demolish AT guns as soon as they are spotted, and that's at 800 meter range as well. It can also really assist your infantry squads, and in Phase B I think this is still a very useful vehicle to help out with pushing through town specifically, because they can chunk infantry and buildings so quickly. Just keep them out of line of sight of AT guns and enemy tanks, and you should be fine. But yeah, just keep the autocannon on target of enemy fire support and infantry, and this thing will do so much damage. Yeah, it's just fantastic for those situations where you have armor control basically, and these light armored support vehicles can really come in handy. So definitely something that I would choose to use moving into Phase B with this deck. Really strong gun, that is. You can even get more of them in Phase C, but I think by Phase C they kind of become redundant. Let's move on to the infantry tab. So this is probably the most important tab of this division. Mainly, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's because it has all of these Fallschirmjägers, of course. Now, the Fallschirmjäger is pretty necessary. It's a 2-star infantry squad with an AT grenade, so it's actually a pretty decent squad with 9 HE power, 2-star veterancy, and it can buff your Fallschirmjägers to 2 stars and 3 stars in Phase A, which is amazing. So definitely worth having nearby, especially considering in the support tab you don't get any command units, so you need to have the command available in your infantry tab to basically make your infantry better. Then, aside from one squad of Fallschirmjäger, I have the MG34. I think MG34s are extremely necessary to support your troops in Phase A. They're actually cheaper in a lot of ways than Fallschirmjäger, so yeah, you can see they're 15 points cheaper, and they can hold a position really well. So at the start of the game, I'll probably bring in all of my MG34s and then some squads of Fallschirmjäger, as opposed to squads of Fallschirmjäger and maybe 1 or 2 MG34s. But no, all of the MG34s are what I bring in for the Fallschirmjäger deck, because they are just a lot more cost efficient than a Fallschirmjäger squad in Phase A, even though the Fallschirmjäger squad does have the 8 HE power on its MG34s there. Or yeah, they are MG34s. But either way, in Phase A, I'm taking 4 cards of Fallschirmjäger. You can actually get 5 of them. I've got 1 left over here. You can get cards of either 4 times availability Fallschirmjägers with 1 star, or 3 times availability with 2 star. And I think, honestly, the 2-star ones are definitely necessary, because a 3-star Fallschirmjäger squad is going to demolish enemy infantry at 300 meter range. When it can get all of its weapons on target, it will just literally delete an enemy squad. They're that powerful. The only thing that happens though with these Fallschirmjägers is they actually struggle at close range. If an enemy squad gets within 100 meter range of you, your Fallschirmjägers will die, because they can't use these MG34s. The MG34s have a minimum range, and that's something definitely to take into effect, especially with Fallschirmjägers. People will look at Fallschirmjägers and they go, oh my god, they're so elite, they're amazing squads, but honestly at close range they suck, because they only have access to 6 HE power within 100 meter range, and that's terrible. So things like airborne engineers from the 101st will demolish Fallschirmjägers in close quarters combat. Same with like pioneer squads, the squads that come with satchel charges or like anti-personnel grenades. They will delete your Fallschirmjäger squads, because the Fallschirmjäger can't kill them quick enough. And that's just something that really counters the Fallschirmjäger in this deck. By the way, moving on, I just think you should take all of the Fallschirmjäger available, because that is your mainline infantry in Phase A. In Phase B, I was previously taking some of these command units, the command infantry here, with the smoke grenade, but I felt that more availability was necessary, since you don't actually get that much infantry availability in this deck, and it can be quite deceiving. So you've got 6 squads there between 2 cards, you've got 8 squads there between 2 cards, you've got 3 MG34s, and that's pretty much your Phase A infantry, which is pretty standard for most decks. And so you need to kind of make up for it in Phase B as well. I'm taking 1 card of the Jaegers here. They're pretty nice squads actually. They do have the dishearten trait, but for 25 points you get a Panzerfaust and a 9 HE power MG42s, which is actually really good. So again, they're a squad that excels at long range. If you keep them at 300 meter range, you've got 11 HE power on target, which is really nice. At close range, they're not as effective as Fallschirmjägers. obviously, and they don't really have any veterancy. So these guys are more your defensive troops. You bring these in to fill your gaps in Phase B. If you have basically pushed forwards, or maybe you're just holding it 50-50, but you're losing infantry in certain areas, you use these to like back them up and play defensively, especially in like buildings and stuff. In like towns, these guys work really well because they have the Panzerfaust to stop like or to stop APCs like rushing you, and then they also have the long range weapons to deal with enemy infantry. So that works out quite well. I also have a card of these Fallschirm Pioneers, and to be fair, I've been tempted to bring in more of these guys just because they are like so fantastic. I like even switching them out for the Jaegers there, because the Fallschirm Pioneers are the guys who help you deal with the 101st Airborne and the 6th Airborne that are way stronger than the Fallschirmjäger, in my opinion, in 1v1s at the moment, because of the 100-meter range engagement that I was talking about earlier. Now, yeah, Fallschirm Pioneers, they're a completely different thing compared to Fallschirmjägers, because these guys are actually amazing at close combat, because they have two 22 HE power anti-personnel grenades, which, alongside their 12 strength squads, is very strong. So basically, because they have 12 strength, they can survive a enemy anti-personnel grenade in some cases, and they can then destroy the enemy squad pretty much for free. So when we're looking at like the 6th Airborne, I think their Pioneer squads are either 5-man or 10-man squads, and they should get killed by like one HE grenade. And then the Airborne Engineers from the 101st will also get destroyed by one grenade. So the Pioneer squad's perfect for that role. And moving into Phase B, if you're really struggling against those, they can really save your ass. And that's why, like I said, I've been tempted to bring in more of them. They also have the extra veterancy. So really, really strong squads. I think I'm actually probably just going to do it. I'm going to change it out on the fly. We're going to change it to 12 Fallschirm Pioneers available, because I think they are very, very strong units. You can also get Sturm Pioneers. The reason that I don't bring these guys compared to like Fallschirm Pioneers is because they're the same cost. They're 6-man squads, and they aren't as deadly, I guess, at killing enemy infantry. They take their sweet time with that napalm. I mean, napalm is great because you burn and like stun units really quickly, but the Fallschirm Pioneers with their HE grenades are just so much more lethal with their 22 HE power grenade. So yeah, the napalm, just in my opinion, not really worth bringing in at this point. Fallschirm Pioneers so much better with their 12-man infantry squads. I do then have a squad of MG42s. These guys are great 6 strength squads with 9 HE power, 800-meter range, really, really strong, and yeah, just brings me more available machine guns moving into Phase B, which I think are really necessary on the Axis side of things, because they have the 800-meter range compared to, say, some of the Allied side things, especially a lot of like the British decks and so on. They only have like 500-meter range max on like the Vickers. The only MGs that really match up to an MG42 is the 50 caliber machine guns, but most Allied decks don't get that much availability of them. So either way, doesn't stop you having a reason to bring in like the MG42 anyway. So I would definitely bring those in. You can get more Fallschirmjäger available in trucks in Phase B. You can get the 1-star for more availability and 2-star for less availability. But I've filled up all my slots at this point, and I don't think we need more Fallschirmjäger. As long as you keep your initial Fallschirmjäger alive, you should be okay. And I doubt you'll be bringing in all of these Fallschirmjäger by the end of Phase A. So actually, that's a good point. I didn't think about that before. You're getting 85 points, so you've got an 850 points to work with in Phase A. Are you going to be bringing in all of your Fallschirmjäger in Phase A? Probably not, honestly. So I would be tempted to drop out a unit of 1-star veterancy Fallschirmjäger for some more 2-star veterancy Fallschirmjägers in Phase B. I think that has the potential to be a good move, because this is very expensive infantry. Let's move on to the tank tab. So we already made quite a lot of changes. The L6s are amazing, and they are definitely something I would recommend bringing in. Both cards of them are great because they have that autocannon I was talking about earlier, with the 5 AP power and the 10 HE power with 112 round per minute rate of fire. So just really strong. 6 accuracy, 10 HE power is really the statistics you want to look at, and they can rip to shreds enemy units very, very quickly, like light units. And if you're struggling against off-map artillery, these guys are the ones you want to use to move forwards in like a town, because they will be able to demolish that infantry and pin them down very quickly. They have a reasonable amount of armor, but just keep them out of the way of AT guns and enemy tanks, because they won't really match up to them very well. Now in this deck in Phase B, I don't really rely on tanks at all. I don't think it's worth bringing in the Befehl Stug 3 or the Stug 3Gs, just because they're a wasted availability slot in Phase B, in my opinion. But instead in Phase C, I bring in a Stug 3, Befehl Stug 3, with 2 Stug 3s available with the extra veterancy, because they help you stem the tide moving into Phase C. Like if you've had a strong Phase A and B, and you're being pushed back in Phase C, the Stugs can really like help you with those ambushes that will turn the game around, or at least prevent the opponents from making too much ground in that later phase. And that's pretty much just the tank tab for me. So Phase A L6s and Phase B L6s, you can only get them in Phase A, but you will be continuing to bring them in Phase B, I would assume. And then into Phase C, you bring up the Stugs to help against like allied armored pushes and so on. Then on the support tab, this support tab is really, really nice actually. You can get an SBW 202, which is basically a little Lynx here, with a mounted Bren gun actually on it. But because you only get one of them, like the 1-star or the 2-star veterancy, it's just, I mean, it doesn't really matter when it comes to like a command dingo. So yeah, just gonna not bring that up. Instead, what I'm going to do is actually bring just some Kubel munitions in Phase A, alongside some LG40s. LG40s are a really interesting gun with 6 AP power and the 4 HE power. So they can be used as 800 meter range fire support against infantry, and they also pose a threat to early armor and APCs and stuff. So pretty nice. Just make sure you keep them in cover, because they definitely need the defensive strength bonus that they get from being in heavy cover. And when I'm talking heavy cover, I'm speaking like tree lines and forests. Flammenwerfer teams, not worth bringing in because they only have 2 strengths, and that's pretty much it for Phase A. Moving into Phase B, I'm taking 2 of the LG42s. These guys have 800 meter range again, but improved to 9 HE power, so these become more like a IG-18 with their HE power, but they also have the 10 AP power versus enemy APCs and armor again. So actually pretty nice units for 60 points. The 9 HE power is actually pretty decent and can be really, really helpful, especially like I get the extra veterancy ones because the accuracy is useful for the AP power. So if it's a 2-star LG42, you're a lot more likely to be able to make good use of the AP power than just their HE power. The HE power doesn't necessarily require much veterancy to be effective to use. Now you can get more of these, but I kind of saved activation points in the support tab to use elsewhere. And I don't think these Stur 42s are ever really worth bringing in, although they do have the nice 15 HE power with the 1200 meter range. I would bring them in, but again, I just don't really have like a place for them in my deck, currently anyway. If we go to the anti-tank tab, this is actually a pretty fun tab of this battle group. You can get Panzerschreck squads in Kubels for 30 points. They're okay, but you've got Panzerabwehrs, so that's what I use for that role. So to me, Panzerschrecks aren't really worth having. As for AT guns, well, you're starting with the Pak 41s, and these guys are pretty damn good because With a command unit nearby, they're 3-star AT guns with 8 AP power, and they have 12 rate of, like round per minute rate of fire as well, which is really, really strong. So these will do a lot of damage to early armor, very much so. And they are perfect for setting up ambushes as well, because yeah, they're just like really cheap, like 50-point AT guns with 2-star veterancy, which goes to 3-star veterancy. As soon as they get into range of like a unit, you can sort of hide them around the corner of a hedge line or a tree line or whatever. And once they get on target, they'll just keep hitting that target over and over and over again until they penetrate. So they have like almost a higher chance to penetrate because they're firing more frequently. And they make them really, really strong. But when it comes down to ambushes, what you really want to be using is the Pupchen. This thing is actually incredibly fun to use. It has a 20 AP power 500 meter range gun, which is very, very potent indeed. If anything comes into range of this, it goes boom, pretty much. And these are really fun to use, but they require you to be smart about line of sight and like just creating those ambushes in the first place. So I think Pack 41s, in my opinion, are more reliable because they can engage at 1,000 meter range, but the Pupchen is really good for those locations on the map where you have like a choke available and you're able to use these guys at their efficient range. You can get way more cards of all of these, by the way. You can even get the Pack 41s with a Kubel MG instead of just a Kubel, which is interesting and something that you might consider if you're having trouble maintaining a front line without, or like with your expensive infantry. You could use Kubel MGs to just hold the front line forwards. But either way, yeah, I just choose to go as cheap as possible with all of my AT guns normally. And yeah, you can get loads more of them, but it relies on activation points. And moving into Phase B, you do want to upgrade your AT guns to something a bit more substantial. So in Phase B, I do gain myself a Pack 40, only one of them. But basically the difference between 2 and 10 AP power for me is not enough for me to warrant bringing in 4 unvetted Pack 38s. So I don't bother bringing in this card, but a Pack 40 in Phase B could be really useful. Your Pack 41s will take care of the rest. So that's basically what I'm going for here. As for Phase C, I'm bringing in another 2 of these Pack 40s, again, because they are the best AT guns you can get. 1200 meter range with 13 AP power is normally enough to take on most allied armor, so you should be okay. And if you don't have enough to deal with allied armor in your anti-tank tab, well, you do in your anti-air tab, where you gain access to the Flak 88s, which I'm sure by now you guys have known that I love. In Phase A, you do gain access to Flak 38 20mm. I don't think these guys are very useful at all in Phase A, so I don't ever really bring them in. Flak 36s are useful in Phase A, but they cost a little bit too much, and for activation points' sake, you only get 1 available on each pack, so that's kind of useless in my opinion. As for the Phase B vehicles, you've got the SDKFZ 10-4 with the 20mm, again not very useful. I'm bringing in 1 card of the Flak 36 37mm for the 2 availability 1000 meter range 9 HE power AA guns. These are pretty much just to help me win mid-game air engagements. So if I'm struggling with the air war against you know, an enemy deck, then I will bring in these 2 Flak 36s, place them a particular place on the map, then I'll fly my like planes in, bait the air engagement, and use the Flak 36s to, you know, stun and panic enemy planes so that I can win that air engagement. That's basically what they're there for. Then moving into Phase C, that's when I actually bring in the Flak 41s. You can get them in Phase B, but again, availability really letting the packs down, so I don't bring them in. Whereas as you move into Phase C, you can get 3 on each pack, and 135 points for 15 AP power and 5 HE. You can't really go wrong, and I find them just incredibly useful in like every deck that has access to them. I personally feel like they need nerf in terms of their strength, maybe down to like 10-man strength, because artillery does have actually a hard time killing them quick enough for them to not be effective. So yeah, Flak 41s either way, really strong, and definitely would recommend bringing these guys in. I've got 2 cards of them. I don't think I'm going to be bringing in more than 6 in most games, so yeah, 6 is more than enough for me moving into Phase C, and it gives me something to buy in Phase C when your Phase C income is actually 145 requisition points, so you can get one of these a minute, which is really, really nice. As for artillery, well, it pretty much comes down to off-map. You take some mortars in Phase A to provide you with smoke and 10 HE power at 1000 meter range. Really strong mortar actually for Phase A, really nice. Most Phase A mortars for airborne decks are only like 800 meters or 700 meter range, whereas a 1000 meter range mortar is actually a really nice welcome addition to this battle group. I also bring in 1 pack of the Bioschwim. These are the observers with the 23 HE power and the 67 meter AoE off-map artillery. Really, really strong in Phase A for making a punch in the enemy or wherever you need to. If you're playing against an infantry concentrated deck, these guys are the perfect remedy to that. If you're up against armored decks, don't bother bringing these in because you most likely won't be coming up against enough of a concentration of infantry for it to be a problem. Then moving into Phase B, well, you can't really not take the 380mm off-map artillery. This is just so strong. 27 HE power with 111 meter area of effect. That is a big area of effect. And these demolish enemy units very quickly, and having both cards of them is completely necessary. Mortars moving into Phase B, as usual, I would say is not great. 1600 meter range with 20 HE is okay, but just not better than off-map artillery in this case. And the long-range support guns here as well, the 15 HE power, 2000 meter range, again, doesn't beat out a 380mm off-map barrage. Like, never, ever is that the case. So, keep these Kubels alive. None of these guys actually have armor, so they can be strafed by enemy aircraft, so be well aware of that. Just keep them in cover, use the off-map to demolish enemy units. I personally feel like it needs a nerf again, but either way, very, very strong and worth having in your deck. As we move on to the air tab, well, this is quite an interesting one. Fallschirmjäger have a very different air tab to a lot of other decks because they rely like so much more on veterancy than most normal airborne decks. So a lot of airborne decks have more availability and less experience, but the Fallschirmjäger really rely on their more experienced units. So for example, in Phase A you can get two-star ME109 G6R6s, which are really the strongest ME109s you can get, and they're available in Phase A for 140 points, which is really nice for if you're being harassed early by enemy airplanes. You can also get a Phase A HS129B1, which honestly is actually quite a nice unit, but I feel like because it doesn't have any veterancy, its AP power gun misses too much and only has 12 shots. And most of the shots won't necessarily penetrate. They can kill a lot of allied armor early game, but I just don't feel like it's worth the risk of bringing in like a HS129 and only have like a 1 ME109 to support it, because I don't think I would ever bring in 3 planes in Phase A to basically attack the enemy. I don't think that's worth it at all. 180 points in Phase A is a lot of points when you're only getting 85 income per minute. That's like three minutes worth of saving just to bring in that plane. So yeah, you have other ways to deal with armor in this deck, especially with your anti-tank tab being so strong in Phase A. If we have a look at Phase B, 2 more ME109 G6R6s don't go amiss. They're quite nice. I wish they had like Focke-Wulf 190 fighters, because they're a lot faster, but ME109s will do the job, and if you keep them supported properly, they will be able to dogfight really, really well. HS129 B1 in Phase B doesn't have enough availability for me, unfortunately. ME109 G2 BR21s are great. with the 25 HE power rockets. However, you do get access to the Focke-Wulf 190G1 with the 25 HE power bomb, which I find to be a lot more reliable and lethal at killing like enemy units. They're just so much better for that role. So I've got two Focke-Wulf 190G1s, and the good thing about the Focke-Wulf 190G1 is they actually have a decent amount of firepower on their machine guns. As you can see, they've got 2 more HE overall on their guns, and they do have the extra resilience available. And yes, they lack the agility that the ME-109 has, but they pretty much retain the same speed. So in my opinion, the Focke-Wulf 190 with the extra experience as well, just really useful for assisting your ME-109s in the mid-game, as well as providing those bombs available. Moving into Phase C, well, this is where I'm actually going to be using some HS129 B1s, because they have the 1-star veterancy now. And in Phase B, or in Phase C, you have a lot of income coming in. So HS129 B1s with the 37mm AP cannon can do quite a lot of work if you're hitting enemy armor in the side and rear. And that's really what can demolish Fallschirmjäger moving into the later phases of the game. Is just like concentrated armor pushes and strong like fire support. And HS129s can really help you take care of that. You can also get these JU88s, and I probably would take JU88s instead of a HS129 if they weren't the variants that had the 225 HE power bombs. But these guys are the 14 times 7 HE power bombs, which are fantastic for panicking and stunning enemy units, but they don't have the lethality that I would like to have, and that's where the HS129s come in really handy. So there you go. That's pretty much all of the units. It's been a pretty long one because I've changed quite a lot of units around as I've been talking through them. And I kind of like it when that happens, because it allows me to really show you guys my line of thinking when it comes to like how the decks are created. And the Fallschirmjäger is probably one of the divisions that I'm not most confident with at all. I don't enjoy playing it as much as other divisions, although it is a really, really strong division, especially in like 1v1, and it's like really strong in 1v1 at the moment, and 2v2s as well, because it just, I don't know, it just sits so well in the early game with its Panzer L6s and the Fallschirmjägers and the MG34s. And yeah, so I'll just talk through how I would play it anyway. In Phase A, it is all about sort of Speertrupp with the 4-man recon squads. You can use a Panzer Abwehr to support a push into a town if you think you're going to come up against enemy light armor and so on that will be pushing you in the town. The Panzer Abwehrs are pretty decent for that. However, for one squad of Panzer Abwehrs, you can buy a Panzer L6, and the Panzer L6, in my opinion, will do the job better against most things that you'll find in a town. So yeah, Panzer L6 is supported by a Fallschirmführer and their Fallschirmjäger, and then you want to bring all your squads of MG34s in the beginning of the game, because that's like 90 points out of your 500 for 3 squads of infantry, which will pretty much always be effective. So yeah, MG34s, really good buy in the early game. You can bring in a couple of Pak 41s, make sure you have command units nearby to gain the 3-star veterancy. You also have the like flak, or the mortars, sorry, available. So the 81mm mortars, I would say bring in at least one of them at the start to provide you with the smoke and HE support. If you are struggling with pinning down enemy squads, then LG40s are great. 800 meter range, 40 points units to help you pin those pesky airborne paras or whatever are coming at you. In the early game as well with the Fallschirmjäger, it's pretty important to avoid forest engagements, because like I was saying earlier, Fallschirmjäger get destroyed by opposing airborne Phase A infantry, because most allied infantry really relies on like 100 meter range engagement, whereas the Fallschirmjägers are quite a different beast in that they rely more on 300 meter range engagement. So keep that in mind and play the map around that fact, basically. There are certain like landscape types like hedgerows and tree lines that basically really suit Fallschirmjägers a lot more than, say, like a straight up forest. Fallschirmjägers can actually quite badly suffer in forests until Phase B, where they gain access to the Fallschirm Pioneers and you can push the opponents back. So Fallschirm Pioneers are a really cost-efficient squad, 30 points for 1-star veterancy with 2 22 HE power grenades with 12 strength squads as well. Just really, really strong moving into Phase B. Use those to take back ground that you've lost previously. Continue to roll in your Panzer L6s and your AT guns. Maybe just bring in some LG42s to assist with long-range fire support. And you can also be looking at bringing in your off-map artillery. Bring in your Phase A off-map artillery in Phase A if you are bumping into large concentrations of infantry. If not, wait till Phase B and smash them with 380 millimeter, and that should basically help you break through wherever you need to. Airplanes are pretty much dependent on what your opponent's doing. I don't tend to bring in like planes that are supporting me until Phase C. Like if the opponents decide to use no air force, I'm not gonna be buying myself MU-109s. I just won't. I'll buy MU-109s reactively as opposed to preemptively, and then moving into Phase B and C, you can maybe get Focke-Wulf 190G1 if you really need a little bit of punch somewhere. But in Phase C is normally where I use the extra points that I have to bring in all of my air force and really take control of the skies. You also have access to the Flak 88s then, which can assist you with enemy tanks and strong pushes into your lines. You also have the Pack 40s, which are a cheaper version of the Flak 88s in Phase B. That Pack 40 is extremely useful, so definitely bring it in. And also in Phase C, you've got the Stugs now available. So again, just to prevent enemy pushes towards you. And that's pretty much it. I mean, it's a deck that relies a lot around, I find relies a lot on its current terrain. So in Phase A, like I was saying, avoid forests, and then moving into Phase B, you can go ham in those forests with the Fallschirm Pioneers. And that's pretty much how the deck works in my opinion. I'm sure there's plenty more you guys have to say about this one. It's not my most, refined battle group, I would say. But I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts, and I did leave it till last for a reason, so there you go. Yeah, that's about it. So hopefully you've enjoyed this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.